Good morning. I'm Rashawn Gidwani, and you're watching the Daily Morning Note. It's Monday, the 24th of February, 2023. For our Week 9 equity strategy, head of research for Phillips Securities, Paul Chu, says, in the near term, we are heading back to the 2022 inflation trade. Long US dollar and short equities and bonds. It was a double whammy for inflation watchers. Not only did the PCE rise above expectation at 4.7% in January, but the prior month was also revised up 0.2 percent points to 4.6%. Interest rate expectations are now firmly for 75 basis point hikes to 5.25% by June. We remain in the disinflation camp, but with a headwind in the near term. Higher interest rates work with the lag, and interest rates were still zero just a year ago. Global trade is slowing and commodity prices are on a downward trajectory. We like OCBC. The bank pays a yield of 5.4% with a huge capital buffer of 15% CET1, and there is additional earning recovery from insurance investments as rates stabilize and China reopens. The Singapore market gained 0.5% or 17.37 points to close at 3,282.30 on Friday, snapping a four-day losing streak in a week marked by shaky investor sentiment on U.S. rate hike fears. Wall Street stocks finished an ugly session decisively lower Friday after another round of hot inflation data exacerbated worries over monetary policy. The Federal Reserve's preferred gauge of inflation, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, rose 5.4% last month from January 2022. From the Phillips Securities research team, here's an update. We are ceasing coverage of UG Healthcare Corporation Limited, Asian Pay Television Trust, and Coda Limited with immediate effect due to a reallocation of resources. The previous recommendation can no longer be relied upon. Skincare products firm Best World International reported early on Sunday a net profit of 47.7 million Singapore dollars for the fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2022, down 7.1% from 51.3 million Singapore dollars in the previous corresponding period. No dividend was declared for the period under review. Hotel Properties on Friday reported a net profit of 74.5 million Singapore dollars for the second half of the year ended December 31st, 2022, versus earnings of 14.6 million Singapore dollars in the comparable period for 2021. The board of directors has recommended a first and final cash dividend of 0.04 Singapore dollars per ordinary share, as well as a special dividend of 0.01 Singapore dollars per share. Hong Leong Finance posted a 113.7% rise in net profit to 85.8 million Singapore dollars for its second half ended December 31st, 2022, from 40.1 million Singapore dollars the year before. Earnings per share stood at 38.28 Singapore cents for the half-year period, up from 17.93 cents the previous year. Venture Corporation reported a 13.8% rise in net profit to 195.3 million Singapore dollars in the 6 months ended December 31st, 2022, up from 171.7 million Singapore dollars in the corresponding period in 2021. Earnings per share for the second half of 2022 stood at 67.1 Singapore cents per share, up from 59.1 Singapore cents per share in the second half of 2021. QAF, the maker of Gardenia bread, posted net profit of 11.2 million Singapore dollars for the second half ended December 2022, down 54% from 24.6 million Singapore dollars a year ago. The decline was mainly due to the absence of earnings from discontinued operations with the disposal of its primary production business. The earnings of semiconductor equipment maker AEM fell 30% to 44 million Singapore dollars for the second half ended December 2022, from 62.4 million Singapore dollars the year before. Earnings per share slipped to 0.1423 Singapore dollars for the 6 months ended December 31st, 2022, from 0.2078 Singapore dollars for the second half of financial year 2021. Transport operator Comfort Delgro on Friday posted earnings of 57.8 million Singapore dollars for the second half of the year ended December 31st, 2022, up 63.3% from net profit of 35.4 million Singapore dollars for the same period in 2021. This took the group's full-year earnings to 173.1 million Singapore dollars, up 40.7% from 123 million Singapore dollars. Oil hedged higher in volatile trade on Friday and was flat on the week, with prices supported by the prospect of lower Russian exports but pressured by rising inventories in the United States and concerns over global economic activity. Goldman Sachs Group is expecting to incur 2.3 billion US dollars more in potential losses from legal proceedings than the reserves it had set aside for such matters last year, a regulatory filing by the investment bank showed on Friday. Goldman has been a target of lawsuits ranging from its role in Malaysia's 1MDB sovereign wealth fund scandal to the collapse of Archegos Capital Management in 2021. The US dollar index rose to 7-week highs on Friday as investors prepared for US interest rates to stay higher for longer after a set of strong US economic data. Strong US jobs data and rhetoric from Federal Reserve officials this month about openness to higher rates if needed in the fight against inflation have resulted in the US dollar erasing its year-to-date losses. In our research section, Phillip Securities research analyst Glenn Thum maintains an accumulate recommendation on Capital Land Investment Limited with a target price of 4.12 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 3.88 Singapore dollars. For Comfort Delgro, Phillip Securities head of research Paul Chu maintains a buy recommendation with a target price of 1.63 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 1.20 Singapore dollars. For HRNet Group, Phillip Securities head of research Paul Chu maintains a buy recommendation with a target price of 0.98 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 0.81 Singapore dollars. For OCBC, Phillip Securities research analyst Glenn Thum maintains a buy recommendation with a target price of 14.96 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 12.67 Singapore dollars. For UOB, Phillip Securities research analyst Glenn Thum maintains a buy recommendation with a target price of 35.70 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 29.85 Singapore dollars. For Venture Core, Phillip Securities head of research Paul Chu downgrades accumulate with a target price of 19.70 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 18.17 Singapore dollars. For SATS, Phillip Securities research analyst Terence Chua maintains a neutral recommendation with a target price of 2.92 Singapore dollars. It was last done at 2.2 dollars. That's all for today. For financial news, tune in weekdays at 8:30 a.m. live on YouTube and Facebook. Please like and subscribe for more. See you again and have a great day.